Now that the beef has been a little bit quiet for a while, let me recap this whole Kendrick Lamar vs Drake situation in a summary. Basically, this started with J. Cole dropping a verse on First Person Shooter with Drake about 6 months ago, where he called him Drake and Kendrick the Big Three, as in the biggest three rappers. Nothing really happened, and the song was a hit for a while. Then about 2 months ago, Kendrick dropped a verse on a song called Like That with Metro Boomin and Future, where he says, "Screw the Big Three, it's just Big Me," addressing that J. Cole verse, and attacked Drake massively on that song. 2 weeks after this, J. Cole released his own diss track on Kendrick titled 7 Minutes Drill, just friendly banter, basically calling his albums boring, and then about 2-3 days later he apologized for it and completely removed the diss track from streaming networks. About a week after this, Drake releases a song called Push-Ups, which is basically calling Kendrick short and makes fun of how he has to split 50% of his profits with his manager. He also has a line mentioning Kendrick's fiancée, and then shortly after this, he released this weird AI song titled Tailor Made Freestyle, where he rapped from the perspective of Tupac and Snoop Dogg, and of course fans went bananas and asked Kendrick to respond. 4 days later, Drake was ordered by the Tupac estate to remove the song from all streaming platforms because it was such an insult to Tupac, and as you guessed, this was a bad image for Drake. Nothing really happened after this for about 2 weeks. Drake and his team were basically making fun, saying they had nothing to drop, and then Kendrick drops a song called Euphoria, which was a diss track entirely about Drake's 6 minutes of insulting Drake, calling him a liar, saying he fakes his accents, calling him a bad father, and a lot of other stuff. But again, aside from calling him a bad father, nothing too sinister. Then about 3 days later, when Drake was rumored to respond, Kendrick releases another song called 616 in LA, which was pretty much, I guess, a warning shot where he basically says Drake's team is compromised, 20% of the people around him don't like him and are feeding Kendrick information. Regardless, a day later Drake releases a strong diss called Family Matters, where he accuses Kendrick of beating his wife or fiancée and says that Kendrick's kid is actually his manager's kid. Honestly, it's a pretty good track and people were anticipating Kendrick's response, but not even an hour after Drake released this, Kendrick releases another song called Meet the Grams. To be accurate, Kendrick released Meet the Grams exactly 30 minutes after Drake dropped. Meet the Grams was basically Kendrick writing a letter to all Drake's family members. He says he wishes Drake would die. He says to Drake's son, sorry that your dad was born, and makes hints that Drake is a predator and that he has a secret second daughter. As a reminder, you guys remember that information about Drake's son was actually exposed by Pusha T in a diss track about Drake a few years ago. So if what Kendrick is saying is true, then Drake is hiding another child. Now these claims have obviously no weight or proof to them. Both from Kendrick and Drake saying Kendrick's a domestic abuser is quite a big claim, as well as saying Drake has a second child and as a groomer. 24 hours later, Kendrick dropped another song called Not Like Us, where he just straight up calls Drake a pedophile and basically a culture vulture. Finally, Drake dropped The Heart Part 6, which many fans perceived as a defensive track, not a diss track, and that might be the reason why Kendrick did not respond to it, because it was very weak. It seems pretty unanimous that Kendrick is winning this beef so far, honestly. By the time you listen to this, they probably released another diss track. But yeah, basically Kendrick and Drake both have things to respond to. For starters, Kendrick has to address the domestic abuse allegations and Drake has to address the predator allegations and the fact that he is hiding a second child. I don't really think you can even respond with another rap. You kind of have to have receipts or proof. We will keep you updated if there will be further developments. You can also watch this next video I made which explains Meet the Grams as the most disrespectful diss track of this beef.